Feeling good? So been sleepless nights, friction. Some of you thought, I'm gonna get this person, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But we are here today. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I just want to again acknowledge all the teachers, the lecturers, for the amazing work that they are doing. I kind of know the way you feel. I've been there not so long ago. I started lecturing when I was 12. So I'm still extremely young, so don't let that fool you. But I actually realized while in the lift, I left CPUT about 6 years ago. Yeah, it's been that long. But it's still very, very dear to me. So maybe just kind of a little bit about, I think, enough excuses when Charlton hounded me and stalked me. No, he really did stalk me. He didn't get the first response. He then tried another angle. He then, and he kept on trying until eventually he got a response. But when I saw enough excuses, I thought that's a very interesting and powerful title for the seminar. And the fact is, anybody can make an excuse, right? I'm sure many of us know people, they always complain. Do we know people that always complain? Yes? These are the people that when you see them, you're too scared to ask them, how are you? Because you know, the minute you say, how are you, then they're going to come and start complaining. Or they start coming up with excuses why they're not living their best life today. And I think, for me personally, I grew up very proudly on the Cape Flats. And I come from a home that was a single parent home. And my first encounter with entrepreneurship actually came with my late grandmother. She was very entrepreneurial. She was someone that understood the concept of bootstrapping. In other words, she knew how she could use the pension, the little bit that she got, and she could raise all her grandchildren and put the family through for the month. The other thing that she was very good at, she was very much involved in early telecommunications. I remember growing up, we never had a television, and back then when we wanted to get to know what the weather was, that was now before cell phones. She would normally tell us, but I was the one that had to do this, I had to take a glass, very much like the glass in front of you, put the glass against the wall because our neighbor actually had a television right there by the wall. So that meant that I could actually hear what the weather forecast was at 5 to 7 in the morning. So she was very good at telecommunications. We were also the first people in our road to implement what was back then known as a landline telephone. I don't think you know what landlines are anymore. But fundamentally it meant that we could actually charge people to come and make calls. Right? And if you wanted to receive a call, you also had to pay. And I was the one that would have to go and call the neighbors when there was a call waiting for them. So you literally, she was very much into entrepreneurship. Like very entrepreneurial. I also remember growing up that one of the things that she used to do was that's why I don't drink tea anymore. Because whenever we used to have tea, she would use one tea bag. And there was 8 of us in the household. Right? So what she would do is she would put the cups across the table and she would take one simple tea bag and she would dab it. I'm not talking about this dab, I'm talking about this dab. Right? And it's interesting that the water was also not boiled either because she didn't want to waste the gas at the time. So it was like lukewarm water and you had a faint taste of tea. And then what she would do is, because sugar was a commodity, she would actually go to the neighbor who had a little bit of a lemon tree and she would put little lemon pieces in the tea. If only and I hated it. But today apparently, iced lemon tea is very popular. If only we put it in a tin, we would have been rich. Alright? But back then it was all about, I was full of excuses. But one of the things through all of those lessons, I realized that sometimes when you go through difficult periods or challenges actually create an opportunity for you to become creative. There's one of two things that you can do whenever you face a challenge. You can either come up with excuses, which most of us do, and we see it all across the media, we see it everywhere, people coming up with excuses of why they find themselves where they are. Or you can make a conscious decision, let me actually look at this challenge or this problem as an opportunity. And when you have the ability to look at a challenge as an opportunity, That is what entrepreneurship is all about. So for me, when I look at my late grandmother, she was the one that was the entrepreneur. Yes, we didn't make a lot of money, right? But she knew exactly how to turn complex situations or challenges in our household into opportunities. So now, fast track many, many years later, lo and behold, I find myself wanting to embark on studies. Now I must be honest, when I completed matric, there was no money to go and study. I did not know what I was going to study either. The fundamental thing that I only knew was I had the opportunity because once I was done with school, I was pushing a trolley. I was basically a trolley boy for 2 years, and I was helping the family with the tips that I would get. And that's what I did for 2 years. Because I had this aspiration, and one of my aspirations was always, I wanted a job where I can wear a shirt and a tie. You know, because people that wear shirts and ties are very important people. And that was my dream. Like, if only I could wear a shirt and a tie. But you cannot wear a shirt and a tie while pushing a trolley. It's very difficult, especially when the tie gets stuck in the trolley. It takes you down. No, trust me, I've gone through that already. And doing all of these things while I'm done with school, and things were difficult at home because there was no money to go and study. And I had a choice. I could either make an excuse and complain, or I could decide, you know what, my dream is to get a job in an office somewhere where I can wear a shirt and a tie. Now, I didn't know about this course that you were doing right now. But there was an opportunity for me to actually do work in an office. And I knew the lady that was doing the interviews, which meant I had some social capital. You know, it's all about who you know, right? So the lady doing the interview was someone that's very close to the family at the time. And there I was, and I had an opportunity. I was shortlisted, and I made a promise to myself that if I don't get this job, what I'm going to do is I'm actually then going to go and study something. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to get the job because I know the lady. I was shortlisted to only myself and another person. So there was no way she was not going to give me the opportunity. And to make matters even better, the job was in an office. So guess what I was going to wear? A shirt and a tie, right? So the day before I had to go and find out the outcome of the interview, I don't know how many of you have ever gone for interviews, right? I was very relaxed. So relaxed that I even preempted that I was going to get the job, and I went to buy myself the brightest red tie you've ever seen in your life and a white shirt because I wanted every single person in my community to see I'm going to work with a tie and a shirt, right? You know, back then there was always this one person that was kind of like the community Google. If that person knows a story, then everybody knows a story, right? So that was that particular person. And I knew if that person sees me, then she would tell the whole world, oh, did you see Marlon? He went to work wearing a shirt and a tie. And so there I was, very excited, just to find out I never got the job. I was heartbroken because I really thought I was going to get it. But I made a promise I was going to leave the job. And I was going to go and apply to do something different. And I went to go and study, right? So I gave my resignation. The boss at the time told me, am I stupid? I've been pushing trolleys for 2 years. What is going to happen with me? What can I do? And I said, well, I've got direction because I'm very good at pushing trolleys. And I'm very, so that's one thing that I can at least use to my benefit. But I was persistent. I was going to go and study something. And the first person that I met, and I'll never forget this lady, she was working as a waitress at the airport. And she stops me, she says, Marlon, what are you going to go and do? And I said, I don't know, but I need to go and study now because I promised myself I'm not going to continue pushing a trolley for another couple of years. And all I could think about was I had to go home and tell my family that my little contribution every month is not going to be there anymore. And I managed to save up, I think it was about 500 Rand. Which back then was enough to pay for an application fee, not registration, just an application fee to try and get into university, okay? That was it. And this lady said, Marlon, if you want to study something, I was helping these people and they were talking about it all the time. You must go and study it. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. What are you meaning? She says, no, man. I was serving these guys at this table and they were talking about it all the time. Eat this and eat that. And I'm like, what is it? And she says, she don't know. But it's information technology. It must be important because they were so excited about it. And that thing kind of got me into information technology, studying technology. That was my career advice. Eventually ended up at Cape Technicon, where they enabled me or allowed me to apply. Apparently, according to the test, I had a bit of logic, which meant that I could actually study. So I ended up going to study without really having the experience or the expertise. But the one thing I did was I saw an opportunity and I took the opportunity. So that's another quality of an entrepreneur. So the first one is that when you find yourself facing challenges or obstacles, look at that as an opportunity. Right? Look at it as an opportunity, like I shared with my late grandmother. The second thing is that when an opportunity presents itself, don't make excuses. I could have made excuses that I can't now wear my shirt and my tie. Right? And I must be honest, I didn't of course wear the shirt and the tie when I went to go and study. But I did wear it when my first day of lecturing. I took that shirt and tie out of that cupboard and I was wearing it with lots of pride. So the second thing is you need to be able to see opportunity and seize it and go after it relentlessly. Don't make an excuse, oh, but I don't have the resources to do it. Oh, but you don't understand my environment. Remember, no one in my family has ever gone to study. No one has even completed matric. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. But there, I decided that my circumstances was not going to determine my destiny. I made a conscious decision with that. So that's the second lesson that I've learned. So fast track, many years later, I then embarked upon an idea. Now, we should never underestimate the power of an idea, especially an idea that you are willing to follow through on. Now, the thing is, very few people are willing to fight for ideas. People will fight for stuff. I will fight for this chair. I will fight for my phone. I will fight for my friend. But very few people are willing to fight for an idea. Because an idea is something that's intangible, isn't it? That's it. An idea is intangible. But when you have the ability to turn the intangible into tangible, something beautiful happens. So, a couple of years ago, about 7-8 years ago, I had an idea. And the idea was simply, my heart was broken because I saw people in my community where I grew up in has given up hope. Many of them have felt that life is not worth living. Embarking on, and we see it every day, we see it in our societies, young people engaging with gangs and drugs. And for me it was very personal because my younger brother was involved with the gangs, involved with drugs. He's currently in Portsmouth. And so I know what it felt like having guys coming wanting to take out your family because of something a younger sibling did. I saw the impact it had on my mother and the impact it had on the broader family. So I had an idea, and the idea wasn't a grand idea. It was something where I knew that as much as my career going forward as a lecturer was going well, I've got some of my old colleagues here, they can attest to that. I was doing okay, right? Not great, but okay. At the same time, I felt myself compelled that I had a choice. I can either continue on this journey, and yes, it's absolutely fine continuously on that journey of building my own career, thinking about myself, or I had a choice that I can leave a legacy. A legacy is where you're not just thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about the people around you. And that simple idea was maybe I should try and do something to help my community. There was no business plan, no feasibility study. I didn't do any kind of YouTubing or anything. I just had this desire to do something good in my community. And because I decided to make that intangible idea, turn it into something tangible, that intention then became what is better known today as Art Labs. So the third lesson that I want you to take away is don't underestimate the power of an idea, but the power of an idea that is activated. Because that's all I did. There was no plan. All I knew was I knew how to teach technology. I wasn't great, but I knew a little bit. I knew a little bit about technology, and that was my journey. And all I did at the time, I had an old computer that someone borrowed, and I taught this one guy how to use a computer and share stories of hope. That was it. And And out of that, he invited his friends. Now, he was an ex-gang member and an ex-drug dealer. Now, who do you think is his friends? Right? So before I knew it, I had a group of misfits in my class, which wasn't supposed to be my thing. I only did it twice a month, 2 Saturday mornings a month, and sometimes I would come and use CPUT's venue. It was very difficult to convince them to bring these guys into the place, but we were able to pull it through. And that is how the journey started, right? So the fourth lesson, and I hope you're keeping track of this. The fourth lesson is, as an entrepreneur, start with what you have. Use and leverage the resources you have at hand. Don't make an excuse, oh, but I don't have money. Oh, I want to start a restaurant, but I don't have money to... No, don't make excuses. If you're starting a restaurant, what do people come to the restaurant for? Anyone? Food. So how do you know people's going to buy your food? So first try and sell food and convert and see if people are willing to buy your food, then you move into the restaurant. Right? So you have to use and leverage the resources at hand. I'll give you 2-3 quick stories of how people did that. There's a group of guys who started a business called Dine with Kailicha. I don't know if anybody ever heard of it. And the concept is very simple. They wanted to have their own restaurant, and I told them exactly what I just told you. And they then decided, what if we allow people to pay us upfront and they come and have the cultural as well as the experience